What if the man sent to save you is not the one you were meant to trust, and the man you were meant to marry is the one who wanted you dead? The stagecoach rattled across the New Mexico desert like a wounded beast, its wheels slipping over sand and rock as the harsh heat pressed down from above. Evelyn Hail gripped the edge of her worn leather seat as another jolt slammed her against the wall. Dust poured through the cracks of the old coach, filling the air and scratching her throat with every breath. Through the small window, she saw miles of red earth stretching beneath a punishing sun, scattered with twisted juniper and jagged mesas that cut the horizon. She had been traveling for 3 days from Santa Fe, headed toward the mining town of San Dismas. Her betrothed, Nathan Crow, was waiting there. His letters had promised a new beginning, a secure home, and a quiet life far from the chaos of the East. But as the stage lurched again, Evelyn wondered why her heart felt so uneasy. "Hold steady there!" the driver shouted from above, his voice nearly lost to the grinding wheels. Across from her, a Methodist minister slept with his Bible clutched to his chest, while beside him, a nervous merchant kept checking his pocket watch, muttering about delayed shipments. The coach suddenly slowed. Evelyn leaned forward, peering out the window. 5 riders blocked the trail ahead. They looked like patrolmen, badges glinting in the sun, rifles resting across their saddles. Relief touched the merchant's face, but not Evelyn's. Something about the men felt wrong. Their clothes were too fine, their horses too well fed. Real lawmen in these parts rarely lived so comfortably. The lead rider came closer. He had pale eyes, a week's worth of stubble, and a smile that never reached his eyes. "Afternoon, folks," he said. "Name's Deputy Garrett. Need to check your papers." The minister frowned. "Since when do mining towns require papers?" Garrett's smile tightened. "Since Mr. Silas Avery took over as chairman. He likes things orderly." Evelyn handed over her letters, including Nathan's proposal and her confirmation for a teaching position. Garrett read them slowly, too slowly. His gaze lingered on her face longer than it should. "Miss Evelyn Hail from St. Louis," he said. "Come to marry Mr. Nathan Crow. He's a lucky man." He handed the letters back, his fingers brushing hers on purpose. Evelyn didn't flinch. "I'm capable of adapting to any place, Deputy." The minister's papers passed without trouble, but when the merchant handed over his documents, Garrett's expression shifted. "Says you're delivering supplies to Mexican farmers," he said. "Not anymore, you're not." He tore the papers in half. "They're squatters. Avery bought that land. They've lived there for generations," the merchant protested. The sound of rifles cocking ended the argument. "Turn the coach around," Garrett ordered. "Those 2 men are heading back to Santa Fe." "You can't do this!" The minister stood, outraged. A gunshot cracked through the air. The minister stumbled, clutching his shoulder as blood soaked his shirt. Evelyn screamed. "That's your warning," Garrett said calmly. "Driver, turn around." But the driver panicked. He whipped the horses, sending the stagecoach lunging forward. More shots rang out. The merchant hit the floor, praying. Evelyn tore off her shawl, pressing it against the minister's wound. The chase ended quickly. A bullet shattered the rear wheel. The coach flipped, slammed against a boulder, and everything went silent. Evelyn woke to blistering heat and a mouthful of dust. The coach lay on its side, wood splintered, the wheel still spinning. The merchant was gone. The driver hung lifeless from his seat. The minister breathed weakly. Voices approached. "Check inside," Garrett said. "Avery wants the woman alive." Fear shot through Evelyn. Why did Avery want her? Clutching the minister's Bible and her small carpet bag, she crawled through the broken window and ran toward a narrow canyon 20 feet away. "She's running!" someone yelled. Evelyn plunged into the canyon. Her dress tore on rocks. Dust filled her lungs. The walls twisted left and right, becoming a maze of stone. The voices faded behind her until there was only silence. But now she was lost. Hours passed. The heat grew vicious. Her boots shredded. Her throat burned. When darkness fell, she huddled inside a shallow cave, praying she had not escaped one danger only to die of thirst. By dawn, she could barely walk. She stumbled through the canyon, dizzy, falling again and again. When she collapsed for the third time, she didn't rise. Hoofbeats echoed. One rider. Strong hands lifted her head, a water flask pressed against her lips. "Easy," a deep voice murmured. "Small sips." The water tasted of minerals and life. Her vision cleared enough to see the man kneeling beside her. He appeared to be in his early 30s, with black hair tied back, dark eyes full of concern, and features that carried both Apache and Mexican ancestry. His clothes were practical, his movements careful. "You're safe now," he said. "Name's Che Kiona. I heard shots yesterday. Found the wreck this morning." "The minister?" she whispered. "He's alive. Travelers took him to the mission." Che helped her sit up. "Your fiancé Nathan Crow?" Evelyn nodded weakly. Che's jaw tightened. "Figures Avery's men would want you. You're valuable to them." "Why?" "There's only one reason a man like Avery wants anything," Che said quietly. "Control." He lifted her onto his horse and climbed behind her, steady and warm, a silent shield against the wilderness. As they rode through the twisting canyon, Evelyn realized something she had never felt before. Her life now depended on a stranger who might be her only truth in a land full of lies. What if the man you trusted with your heart turned out to be the one who needed your silence more than your love? Che guided his paint Mustang across the open plain as the canyons widened into a golden stretch of desert. The morning sun burned through the last traces of dawn, warming Evelyn's chilled skin. Every step of the horse reminded her how close she had come to death, but Che's steady presence behind her kept her upright. When San Dismas finally appeared in the distance, it looked nothing like the peaceful frontier town she had imagined. Smoke drifted from chimneys, dust clouds rolled across Main Street, and unfinished buildings leaned at odd angles. The biggest structure was a hotel with Avery House painted in bold letters. Its porch swarmed with rough-looking men whose eyes watched everything. "I'll take you only to the edge of town," Che said quietly. "If Avery's men see us together, it may put you in more danger." "Why help me at all?" Evelyn asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he helped her down from the saddle, his hands gentle but firm on her waist. "Maybe because I'm tired of finding bodies in the desert," he said. "Or maybe because you ran, instead of surrendering. That takes courage." He paused, his dark eyes searching her face. "Be careful who you trust in that town, Miss Hale. Even ink can lie in this heat." Before she could ask more, he turned his horse and rode back into the wilderness, leaving dust swirling where he had been. Evelyn squared her shoulders and walked into San Dismas. The town turned to stare. Whispers followed her up the street as she made her way to the railroad office. When she stepped inside, Nathan Crow looked up from his blueprints. His handsome face flashed with surprise. Then relief. Then something she couldn't name. "Evelyn," he said, rushing to her. "Thank God. The stage was due yesterday. What happened?" She told him everything, except for Che. Something inside her warned that this was not the man she could trust with that truth. Nathan listened, jaw tightening, eyes darting toward the door as if afraid someone might overhear. "Deputy Garrett will pay for this," he muttered. "I'll speak to Avery at once." "Before that," Evelyn said carefully, "may I see the letter you wrote? The proposal." Nathan frowned. "You still doubt me?" "I nearly died," she said. "I want to see it again." He opened a drawer and handed it over. Evelyn moved to the window, holding the paper up to the light. The seal had been pressed twice, covering older wax. The signature was just slightly different from the way he had signed his name moments earlier. Her stomach tightened. Nathan stepped beside her. "Is something wrong?" "No," she lied softly. "Just tired." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We should marry quickly, Saturday. Your reputation." "I was nearly murdered," she whispered. "Reputation seems a small concern." He didn't like that response. She saw it in his eyes. That night, alone in a small room at Mrs. Brennan's boarding house, Evelyn stared at the forged letter again. Something was terribly wrong. Nathan's proposal, Garrett's attack, Avery's sudden interest, none of it made sense. Not until she remembered Che's warning. Ink can lie. 3 days later, the truth began to surface. She walked alongside Nathan through town when the gossip reached her ears. 2 women whispered near the flour barrels at the general store. "I saw her riding with that half-breed scout," one said. "Practically in his lap," the other whispered. "Shameless. And Mr. Crow still wants her? Foolish man." Evelyn felt heat rise in her face. Nathan's grip tightened around her arm. "We will address your reputation later," he said sharply. But he never got the chance, because the store bell chimed and Silas Avery walked in. He was smaller than she imagined, neat, polished, vicious in the eyes. Garrett followed him, a yellow bruise blooming around his jaw. "Miss Hale," Avery said smoothly, "I must apologize for your unfortunate welcome." Evelyn's voice was ice. "You shot a minister." Avery smiled. "Regrettable, but frontier justice demands quick action." Then he tilted his head, studying her too closely. "I understand your father was Samuel Hale, printer of abolitionist pamphlets. A brave man, a dangerous one." Evelyn stiffened. She had never told anyone her father's name. "I make it my business," Avery continued smoothly, "to know every soul in my town." Nathan shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Evelyn's eyes. Avery continued, "Saturday's wedding will be lovely, a fine union between 2 families who understand order." After they left, Evelyn turned to Nathan. "You never told me Avery knew about my father." Nathan didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Evelyn, stop antagonizing people. These lands run on power. Avery controls the water. The rest follow." "And you," she whispered, "do you follow too?" Quote. Nathan flinched but said nothing. That afternoon, trying to understand her new world, Evelyn visited Mrs. Chen's laundry behind the hotel. Steam rose from huge metal tubs, and workers moved like shadows through the heat. Sarah Boone, Isaac Boone's sister, tended to a worker's burned arm with steady hands. Mrs. Chen studied Evelyn carefully. "You look like lady, but hands soft. What you want?" "Work," Evelyn said. "Something useful." Mrs. Chen's raised brow softened. "Maybe you help Sarah. She needs someone who read and write." In the back room, surrounded by jars and herbs, Sarah taught Evelyn to label medicines and keep careful notes. "You've had a hard welcome to this town," Sarah said gently. "This town has many shadows," Evelyn murmured. Sarah nodded. "And some of those shadows have names." Later, walking home at dusk, Evelyn saw Garrett shoving an old Mexican woman away from the community well. Che appeared from the shadows and stepped between them, cool and firm. He defended her without drawing his weapon, using words like a shield. Evelyn watched him, heartbeat trembling with something she couldn't name. When Garrett finally retreated, muttering curses, Che walked Evelyn back toward the boarding house. "Be careful," he said softly. "Avery is tightening his grip on this valley. And Nathan, you should look closer at the papers on his desk." She swallowed hard. "Why are you warning me?" His voice dropped. "Because your name is about to be tied to things you never agreed to." They stopped near a lamppost, shadows stretching around them. Che looked at her with quiet intensity. "You should run," he said, "before Saturday." "I can't," Evelyn whispered. "Not until I understand why they want me here." Che nodded slowly. "Then be ready," he said. "Truth is coming. And truth in this land can be deadly." He disappeared into the night, leaving Evelyn alone with a fear she couldn't shake. The deeper she walked into San Dismas, the more she felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. And somewhere between the lies and the danger, her heart had begun to shift too. What if the truth you uncover is powerful enough to destroy a tyrant, save a town, and change your heart forever? 3 days before the wedding, the truth came crashing into Evelyn's life so hard it shook her to the bone. Judge Luther Mills arrived at Mrs. Brennan's boarding house, dust-covered and weary from travel. He carried a folded document and a troubled look. "Miss Hale," he said, lowering his voice, I received a detailed report about illegal water diversion in this valley. Anonymous, but accurate. Evelyn's pulse quickened. She had not sent any letter. Who had? And one more thing, the judge continued, sliding the document across the table. Your mother owned land here, a Mexican land grant, senior water rights, all inherited legally by you. Evelyn felt the world tilt. Her mother? Her mother who had never spoken of this place? But the land grant was real. Her mother's name, written in beautiful old script, which meant Avery's entire empire was built on land and water he did not own. She barely had time to process the truth when a tap came at her window. Che was outside, urgent. Evelyn, he whispered. Avery's men are planning a raid at dawn on the Apache families camped near Crow Peak. They'll blame them for stealing water. She grabbed her shawl and the land grant. I'm coming with you. Che shook his head. It's dangerous. And staying in this town isn't. He could not argue. They rode through the night, reaching the canyon where Apache families huddled around a dying spring. The drought and Avery's dam had drained the land to near death. Children coughed from thirst. Elders sat quietly, their eyes dim with worry. This spring should be full, Che murmured. This is sacred water. Evelyn knelt beside a young mother holding her baby. The child's lips were cracked from dehydration. Her heart broke at the sight. We can't wait, Evelyn whispered. We have to act now. Che looked at her with fierce admiration and worry. There's one way, he said. The old stone spreaders. They can catch rain runoff if a storm comes. But we'd need help. Lots of it. We'll get it, Evelyn said. By dawn, the canyon was buzzing. Chinese workers, Mexican farmers, freed slaves, Apache men and women, all gathered with tools, shovels, and determination. Evelyn helped relay instructions, moving from group to group. But danger found them first. Dust clouds rose on the horizon. Riders. Avery's men. They found us, someone shouted. Che pulled Evelyn behind a rock ledge, shielding her with his body as bullets cracked through the air. Stay low, he whispered. I'm not leaving you, she said. You're not, he whispered back. Gunfire raged until a sudden roar swallowed everything. A sandstorm barreled through the canyon like a living beast. The world turned to red wind and stinging grit. Evelyn felt Che grab her hand and pull her toward a cave. Inside, he shouted. Dozens followed, coughing and gasping as sand swallowed the world behind them. Darkness wrapped around them, broken only by flickering lantern light and frightened breathing. In the cramped cave, Evelyn felt small bodies pressed close, terrified children clinging to their mothers. She moved through the darkness to help Sarah Boone treat the wounded. Dust cut her throat, tears stung her eyes. Then she felt Che beside her. You're shivering, he murmured. I'm frightened, she whispered. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her against his chest. His heartbeat steadied hers. Fear means you still have something to live for, he whispered. Hold on. Their foreheads touched, shadows dancing between them. Che, she whispered, I need you to know if we live through this, I won't go back to who I was. His breath shook. I can't pretend I don't feel what I feel for you. Her fingers brushed his cheek. Then don't. In the darkness, surrounded by danger and strangers, something inside them broke open. His hands pulled her close. Her breath trembled against his skin. Their lips met, desperate, honest, alive. She whispered the words that had risen from the deepest part of her heart. Bury yourself deeper. Quote, he held her as if he never wanted to let go, breathing her in like life itself. As deep as forever allows, he whispered against her hair. The storm raged on. But inside that cave, Evelyn felt the first true piece of herself settle into place. Hours later, when dawn's pale light returned, the storm had transformed the desert. Water trickled through new channels. Hope shimmered on the ground. We can save the valley, Evelyn said. We will, Che answered. By midday, the whole community was working together, building new channels, lifting stones, carving paths for the trickling water. But before they could finish, another dust plume appeared. Riders, dozens. This time, not Avery's men, Judge Thornberry, the territorial marshal, federal escort. They had come to confront Avery. The makeshift courtroom was built in the railroad yard. Documents were presented: Evelyn's land grant, Avery's forged contracts, testimonies from families he had robbed. Avery exploded with rage, drew a gun, and chaos erupted. But the people stood strong. They protected Evelyn, protected their documents, protected their truth. When the marshal finally arrested Avery, rain began to fall. Heavy, cleansing rain that washed dust and fear from everyone's faces. Evelyn lifted her face to the sky and let it fall over her like a blessing. San Dismas changed after that. Water flowed freely again. The community formed a fair water committee. People worked together instead of against each other. Evelyn ran the print shop her father never got to finish. She printed truth every day. And as the weeks passed, the glances between her and Che grew into touches. Touches grew into confessions. Confessions grew into plans. One evening by the restored canal, under the soft glow of lantern light, he took her hands. "What happens now?" he asked softly. "Now," she whispered, leaning into him, "we build a life." "Together?" "Together." The desert wind brushed against them, warm and full of promise. The water behind them whispered its ancient song, and Che pulled her into his arms, holding her close, breathing her in, as if forever had finally arrived.